Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another video. In this video we are going to discuss about for loop. In the last video we have discussed about the syntaxes and the different types of loops we have in Python like while and for loop. So we have already discussed about the syntaxes, how we have to declare a for loop and how we have to use a while loop and what are the different types of things we have to do and where they will be useful for us in programming language. And we also covered about loops, what does a loop mean. We have discussed those parts in the last video, right? So for now we'll be discussing in depth about the for loop, especially in this particular video. So let's get started with for loop. So let's see, as you know, the syntax for loop is for, let's take, we have a value in a sequence and whatever the functions or loops we have doing, loop body. Let's assume this code will be loop body. So the syntax for loop is you have to use a keyword called for and you have to mention a loop variable and you have to tell in which sequence it is there. In is a membership operator, right? We have already discussed about the operators. So then the sequence, what is the sequence we are referring to? We are using a value in a sequence, right? If the value is present in the sequence or until and unless it is present in the sequence, we will be getting our loop executed. Otherwise it will be not executed, right? That's the idea behind for loop. So if the value is present in the sequence, particular given sequence, it will be executing the whatever code we will be writing. The code may be 100 lines of code or even maybe one line of code. It will be executing easily. But if the value is not present in this particular sequence, then the program will not execute or the loop condition will not be satisfied. So the loop body will not be executed and it is not shown on our output, right? That's the idea behind this syntax for loop. So let's take some examples so that you can easily get how to work with for loop in further examples, right? See, as we already mentioned, we have already said that data structures in Python, we have several data structures, right? So we'll be covering about data structures in the further videos, like we have lists, tuples, sets, dictionaries, etc. We have already mentioned it. So these we'll be discussing later in the upcoming videos. So let's take a variable. Let's assume we have fruits. A list of fruits is equal to, let's take apple, banana, and then we have cherry, right? We have a list of values. So for x in fruits, print x. See, you can see the output if I run this. See, what we are getting is we have got apple, banana and cherry. See, you can see in for loop we have mentioned a value, right, x, as a loop variable in which fruits, for every iteration it will be checking a value and it will be printing that particular value. For x in fruits, it will be assigning x as apple first and then it will be printing, and again it will be running under iteration. Here in Python we will be having automatic iterations. We don't need to mention x is equal to x plus 1. In other programming languages we will be mentioning like x is equal to x plus 1. Not here, but in the for loop condition in C and other programming languages we will be having for loop as for I is equal to 0 semicolon I some condition less than or equal to 10 or maybe something I plus plus. We will be mentioning the iteration I plus plus or maybe I minus minus, right? We will be incrementing or decrementing that particular loop variable. But here in Python we don't need to mention iteration. So the loop variable in Python automatically increments its value. So it takes the first index apple and then it will be printing x, and for the second iteration it will be taking another index value, then the next value will be assigned to x, so banana is printed. Then for the next thing it will be taking cherry into consideration, so you have got the output as cherry. So that's the idea behind it. So the important point here is in Python the loop variable is free from incrementing or decrementing. There is no need to increment or decrement any loop variable in Python, so there is no need actually. So that's the reason behind to explain this particular example, because we are not using any x is equal to x plus 1 or x is equal to x minus 1. We are not mentioning the index to increase or decrease the values, right? That's the idea behind the for loop. So let's take another example. Let me clear this. Let's say we don't have any variables. Let's assume for you have mentioned x in simply you have a string. Let's assume apple itself. If you print x, if you run this, you'll be getting the output as you can see the string values are converted for x in apple. Apple is a string, right? The value we have mentioning. So it takes each and every character a, it will be printing a. Then for the next iteration it takes the value p, and then you will be getting the output as p. In the same way, for every iteration it will be changing or adding the value, the positions, so it will be assigning the new values to it, then it will be printing on your output. So that's the idea behind this for loop. So I think you got the idea, right? Let's take our previous example. Let me go back to the previous example. So here we have done something right, just printing the output, right? So let's take some conditions. We have mentioned it. If x is exactly equal to banana, then only I want break. I have to stop. Break in the sense I have to stop. I need to stop the iteration. So if you run this, you will be getting the output only for apple. You can see you got the output as apple. Here banana, if x is equal to banana, if the value of x is equal to banana, you have to break the loop. So here the loop has been broken by us by using some condition. So that's the idea behind this. So you can use multiple conditions for your loops. If you want some particular condition to satisfy, then you can stop your loop, or you may continue your loop. If you want to know about continue, you can see if I run this, apple and cherry are the outputs except banana. We don't got our output as banana, because while iterating it will be checking if x is equal to banana. For the first iteration we have got the value called apple, so that's the reason we have got apple. It printed x. Then if x is equal to banana, now for the second iteration our value goes to banana, right? So for the next iteration the value of x is equal to banana. So we are mentioning continue. The continue keyword, what it does is ignore the present step and go back to the next step. Sorry, go to the another step. So continue keyword, what it tells is ignore the present step. So if you are having the value of x is equal to banana, so this particular step should be ignored. So the iteration should be carried on to the next step. So it will be ignoring the only present step. So in the case of break, we can see if you use break, the entire process will be stopped. Only the first step will be printed, the previous thing, until and unless we haven't made the condition satisfied, the loop, the iterations can be performed. If you use the break statement, the next steps will be break. The loop will be stopped at that particular point. If you use continue keyword, if you use continue keyword particularly, that particular step, that particular looping iterative step will be stopped, and the next step will be automatically or generally forwarded. So that's the reason and idea behind the for loop to use. You can use as many things you can. So that's the thing about for loop. In the next video we'll be discussing about while loop. That's all for the video. Thanks for watching.